Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Her Version. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle to triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. If you are new to this podcast, make sure you follow, like, subscribe, and share. Let's jump right in. Thank you for joining us today for this episode of Her Version. The Her Version platform is built on storytelling and the understanding that many times our greatest learning experiences come from listening to other people's stories. Today, I am speaking with an amazing woman named Simone. Simone was a model and a children's teacher early in her career. And during that time, she noticed unfortunate signs of low self-esteem within the female culture. Simone is now known as the Self Esteem Doctor and is here today to talk about mindset, visualization, and how important real self-esteem is. Welcome, Simone.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to hang out with me and the live audience here that's already joining us. I so appreciate all the females that come on and are willing to share a little bit of their journey and share a little bit of the nuggets of information that they have acquired throughout their lives to help, inspire and uplift those that maybe are in a darker spot.
For sure. And a platform like this is, I'm just running like, yes, let's do this, Sabrina. Let's inspire whoever we can inspire because our stories really are important.
100%, 100%. So how are you? How has your week been? How's the holidays?
Amazing. Just
Good.
no complaints. So far, so good. And how about you?
No complaints, same. No
Good,
complaints,
good.
same. So listen, I would love to jump in. I would love to kind of give you the floor and kind of let you talk about what careers I'm so sorry. What careers you have had in your past and how you came to realize that self-esteem was an issue that young women were really struggling with. I think that your story is so unique in like the awareness that you had fairly early on in your career. So do you mind kind of sharing that with us and letting us know how this whole thing started?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I am very excited to do this and welcome everybody who's tuning in again. Thank you so much for being here, guys. All right, so one part of my career was being an elementary school teacher. And then you're going to kind of see this disparity as I jump to the other one, but let's start here. The elementary school experience was, of course, beautiful because you've got these young minds, you've got these beautiful children that are just ready to learn and they're open and they're eager. And then there's this other side that kind of comes out. And at this particular time, I was teaching third grade. And I remember not only the kids kind of having a lot of fears around, testing and school and grades, but I also noticed when this one girl came to me at about 8 years old now, third grade, and she says, am I fat?
Oh.
I was like, no one trained me for this. What do I say? Like, you can obviously I know to say no, but there's something deeper than that. Like, what?
100%.
Why did this question come to me at this age? Why is that even in your, scheme of knowledge to even ask me that? I was so distraught, and of course, I'm like, oh my goodness, honey, you are beautiful. Like, get that word out of your mouth. Like, blah blah blah. But I'm like, that's not enough. I just put a little sugar on it in class and that's it. But I want to know what's going on here on a deeper level. And then
100%.
it started to become apparent to me, like, so this is an issue here, not only with her, but obviously her peers. And you start to see it popping up more. And mind you, this was several years ago. So it's not quite in the thick of the social media world. So can you imagine what it's like now for our kids, right?
Yeah, right.
That was on that end. So we saw the fears, the interest in the looks, the low self-esteem, the low confidence popping up, different kids asking different questions, and it's showing itself in these different areas. And then the second career that I was kind of working on at the same time, I was modeling, as you said in the beginning. And now this is the world where you would think that it's like, oh, you're the model. Like you are just think you're the thing, right? And, I got there and I have to admit, very naive. My mindset was very like, I'm just like a kid, like a big kid still to this day. And my mindset was more just like, yay, we dress up and go on the runway. Like, this is fun, right? That was it. I'm like, you're going to pay me to do this? I'm in.
Yeah.
And so I'm backstage and several runway shows, but one in particular. And I said, what are they talking about? And I tune into them and I hear the girls back there. Oh my gosh, I'm so fun. Like, look at this and look at that. And I'm just like, but we're supposed to feel beautiful right now and just
Yeah.
go and like, what's happening? And there was so much critique there. I mean, it was like a war going on with them. And I was like, okay, that's strange. Now remember, I have the teaching experience and now I'm having this experience. And then I think the glue that puts it all together, guys, I hope you're listening, because this to me, I think, is what put it all together for me. I get off the runway now. We're done. The show's over. My mom's always in the audience, no matter how old I am. She's probably on right now.
I love it.
Thanks, Mom. And so I go and I'm like, really, oh, that was great. It was fun. And then I walk by a group of girls, young girls, around the same age as the kids who would be in my classroom. And they are going nuts. They're so beautiful. I want to be like them. They're so perfect. That's my future. That's my life. And I'm just like, there's a problem here.
Yes.
There's a massive problem here, Sabrina. There's a whole like lie happening and a whole like weird deception because the little kids are already concerned about their looks and their image. They're looking to the older models as a role model to feel good and love and accept themselves, but those models don't actually love and accept themselves.
Yes.
So who's actually teaching our girls? Who's actually role modeling? Where is this lesson coming from? And we've got to do something because it's from this end, 8 years old, to this end as a young woman or an adult woman, and there's got to be something that we
absolutely,
absolutely.
Yeah. Wow, I love that. That in itself, that last part, is so insightful.
Yeah. I think that's literally where a lot of the future that was to be for me and for the work I'm doing really started to, because I was like, man, this puzzle piece just came together and it wasn't a very nice puzzle. I don't like this puzzle. We've got to do this over, so.
Yes. So all of these realizations are coming to you over the course of a few years.
Yes.
So, obviously we know who you are now. You're the self-esteem doctor. So what were the first steps? What were some of the first endeavors that you kind of worked on to get self-esteem into the minds of these young females?
Beautiful question. So it seemed logical that I would take the experiences that I'm already familiar with. I'm a teacher and I've had the modeling experience. So I have this beautiful, grand idea. So
yes.
I am going to open a modeling studio thing, right? But in this modeling studio, we use the runway as our inspiration. We use the runway to say, like, I can stand up here and I can be proud. And we build in some self-esteem lessons and some affirmations and we do all this stuff. And I was like, this is it. Look out, world. I have the greatest idea ever, right? Except the world asked me a couple questions that I don't think I answered the way they wanted. So the questions would be, oh my gosh, this is a modeling agency. No, we're not really an agency. So you're going to make my daughter famous? No. So you're doing official modeling training for professional models? So what are you doing there? And I'm like, I'm using the runway to inspire confidence and help overcome low self-esteem. Huh? What? I don't get it. What are you talking about? And I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I doing wrong here? So it wasn't working. I mean, in a general sense, it wasn't working for the most part, for most of the people. But there were some positive stories in there that really did take us to the next level. But I want to pause there just for 1 second to say, for people who are tuning in, that first idea might not have been it, right? But there was something still there and I wasn't prepared to give up, although I knew there was going to have to be a change of gear somewhere. And I think that's probably what we'll be talking about in a little bit. So I can give you a little insight as to kind of how I took that to the next level to really fine tune this.
100%. And I love that you're saying that and even being open and vulnerable about that, because a lot of times we think that, well, there's two things. There's two things. One, people think that their idea might be stupid, so they never go along with it. Right.
Right, right,
Where in this case, like it didn't quite work out. So that's what
right,
people fear.
right.
But the takeaway here isn't all of that. It's actually like one thing, and moving in the direction leads you to another thing. I was
Yes.
actually just talking to my parents about that. I'm like, if you would have seen what all of the ideas and everything that were going through my head 10 years ago, and then where I am now, they're very different. But if I wouldn't have started that first idea, I never would have gotten to where I am now.
Exactly. When we jump on that first step or the second step, we're not on 30th floor. We're not at the 90th floor. We're on the first, or
Exactly.
second, or third floor, but we still got to pass through those floors for the most
Yep.
part to get to the level that we want to get to. So I think it was a super awesome learning experience. It was tough. I cried. I cried.
Yes. So
But
how long did you kind of stay in that, sect before you kind of like woke up with the self-esteem doctor idea?
so it was about, okay, so it's kind of a longish answer, but it's a sit back, guys, sit back. I'm not going to make it too long. I'm not going to make it too long. But it was about 2 years of actually just still trying to make the studio work. And in that time, these were the
What'd you
two.
name it?
It was actually kind of weird, but it stood for Simone Alicia Studio, or sometimes I change it to School of Modeling. So it was SASOM, SASOM, SASOM.
Oh, that sounds cool.
I thought so too.
That sounds cool. I love it.
Thank you. So it's still actually the parent company name. Like I'm doing business as a self-esteem doctor, but it's still kind of like you helped start it all. You're there with me. So that's still the name you'll find if you look me up. But probably the sweet spot of that story that really led me here is actually two success stories that came out of that time frame. So it wasn't a complete flop. It wasn't something I was going to really be able to scale and everybody really understood. But there was a day when a young girl and her mom walked into that studio.
Okay.
And this one might be a tearjerker. Grab your tissues. Or I should tell myself to grab my tissues.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't
So
have tissues.
I don't mean I'm not even prepared. Okay. So the mom and the daughter walks in to the studio. The daughter had been assaulted in a different
Oh,
in a very negative, like horrific way at school one day, or she actually skipped school and there were several boys involved. It was a very traumatic thing. And now at this time, I knew I could help build self-esteem and change mindset, with some of the tools that I had, but I wasn't so confident at the time that I could help with the more traumatic pieces of this. So I was
yeah.
very highly recommending she needs therapy, get her a therapist, a psychologist. I'll work alongside for some of this stuff, but I want you to get someone else. At the time, they were like, yeah, we'll get that, but will you please work with my daughter? And I'm like, sure. And I remember putting her on the runway, having these discussions, having her do affirmations, working on her posture, deep breathing through her core, using these mental tools to like just imagine and see. And now keep in mind at this time, I didn't have my official training in neuro-linguistic programming like I do now.
Uh-huh.
But when I look back, what I realized, of course, after studying everything, is that I was using elements of neuroscience with her on the runway. So she
Wow.
was basically able to kind of, as she was recalling these negative traumatic events, we were basically interrupting that recall process with a
Wow.
positive experience on the runway that was very detailed and very calculated. So we knew exactly what we were doing. And let me tell you, I remember her being the first person that ever actually paid money or basically believed in what I was doing or got what I was doing. And I just remember right now, I'm literally seeing it in my eyes right now. The mom comes in and there's tears in her eyes, and she's just like, thank you.
Oh my
Thank
God.
you for what you've done to my daughter. I have a new daughter. She's back. Just so grateful. And I was like, I knew it. I have it.
Yes.
I have it. This is it. I just need to figure out how to make it work a little bit better. And maybe I'll refine my tools and refine my knowledge and take this step to get to where I want to get. But this is it. And this is what I had in mind. And I just felt like the universe threw me a bone, like, keep going. This is it. Like they might not get it, but you got this. And so that was that. And I had another, young man that came in, a young boy, which also helped to teach me that this is not just going to be for the females and the women and the ladies and the girls. It's also going to be for the boys and the men. So we can help to, raise them with a new mindset of compassion for self and compassion for others, so that they become men who are compassionate,
Yes.
right? So I had a situation with him, and he was struggling with his father regarding his own orientation. And I just kind of gave him a platform again, and he took it to the next level and is like a big fashion photographer in New York now. So he really embraced that experience.
Wow.
But just seeing those success and hearing those thank yous and the heartfelt, profound way that they still contact me. Well, the boy does contact me and tell me, you literally changed my life, and I'm never going to stop telling you, like, this is amazing. And I'm like, I'm never going to want to stop hearing it. So that put me on the track to understand that, this is my mission. And
Wow.
I knew that it was going to lead me somewhere. So can I take you on the quick journey of how it took me here now?
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes. Yes.
So after it closed down, because obviously, my two beautiful clients weren't able to help me keep the doors open, but it kept my heart open and it kept the dream open. And I think that was worth more than money can buy.
Yeah.
So we closed the doors physically on that location in Miami. And then I started to kind of live life a little bit. I got married, had two babies, like some time was passing here, and the dream was still just kind of growing. So if you're tuned in, thank you so much, Charlotte. If you're tuned in, please remember that the dream can keep on going. Just keep it going. And even if I wasn't physically doing anything to build at the time, but you couldn't take it out of my mind. And there's that mental imagery that comes into place and was setting the tone for what would come later. So I kept dreaming. And as I lived this life, we moved around a little bit. Like I said, we had the two babies. I studied neuro-linguistic programming by this point. I'm sharpening my tools. I became an honorary doctor of divinity at this point, sharpening my tools. I really started to understand what it is I wanted to do and what it's going to look like and how I'm going to deliver it. And speaking of deliver, about a month after I delivered my son, I'm sitting in Connecticut, because that's where life kind of took us at that time. And I'm holding this 2-month-old, 1 or 2 month old in my arms.
Okay.
And I've got a notepad to the side and I'm writing, and I just stop. Sean, that's my husband's name. Sean, I got it. And he's like, what? What are you talking about? I'm the self-esteem doctor.
Oh my gosh.
What? What? Oh, that's great. What's that? I'm like, I don't know yet, But I'm the self-esteem doctor, and that was it. And from there,
Wow.
2 months later, we came back to Florida, and we just started to rebuild what this would look like with some one-on-one coaching and putting the work in for the academy that we have now.
That's awesome. That's